I'm Dr. Fakir Averi, and this is Secondary Resources for Drug Information. The first learning objective is distinguish between Pubmed Central, MEDLINE, and Pubmed.
MEDLINE is the online citation database that PubMed uses, and it is primarily intended for health professionals. You can directly search MEDLINE through PubMed, and what's significant about it is that you can actually use medical subject headings or MESH vocabulary to look for articles, and I will talk more about MESH in the next learning objective. Now, PubMed itself is a free database that is provided by National Library of Medicine. It is a secondary resource, and it's an indexing service. What that means is that it's a database of citations, so it does not have the full articles on it. It only has the citations to other articles. So you can locate primary literature by using PubMed. Now, what you will find on PubMed is that you will actually find MEDLINE and non-MEDLINE citations. Both MEDLINE and non-MEDLINE citations include article title, authors, abstract, and citation information. And for MEDLINE citations specifically, you also get information on the MESH vocabulary or MESH keywords. Every article that you find on PubMed has its own unique PubMed ID. And you can actually use this PubMed ID to locate articles if you happen to know it. And the third thing that you need to know is the Pubmed Central, which is different from PubMed. Pubmed Central is basically a free archive for full text articles. And just like every article on PubMed comes with the PubMed ID, every full text article on Pubmed Central comes with the Pubmed Central ID. So you can actually use the Pubmed Central ID to locate these articles. And I'll show you how this looks like. Now let's go to pubmed.gov. So if you click or if you type pubmed.gov, it will take you to the website for PubMed. Now you can see that on PubMed by default the search box is ready to search PubMed. If you wanted to search for if you want to search the database in Pubmed Central, you basically have to change this to Pubmed Central or PMC, and then you can search for articles on Pubmed Central. And if you wanted to search for MESH terms, you basically change this to MESH, and then you can actually search the database for MESH. And I'll tell you more about MESH in a little bit. Let's go back to PubMed. So let's say, for example, if you search for pancreatitis, as you search, it will tell, show you a list of all the articles that are indexed on PubMed. So you can see that it's showing about 64,775 articles listed, and it shows you in pages of 20 items. And you can change that. If you wanted to show more pages, you can, change that number. It's also sorted by most recent, and the format is on summary. So it has a summary. So it has the title. So the first item is the title, and it has like the author names, and it has the actual citation. So this is the actual citation. So it has the journal name, the year it was published, and the page numbers. And of course, it has a PubMed ID. Note that this is page 1 of 3,239 pages, so you can go, navigate through the pages. Now let's click on the fourth one. So if you actually click on the title, response and outcome from fluid resuscitation in acute pancreatitis, it will take you to the full page for this citation. Again, note that it doesn't show you the full text of the article. it is only showing you the abstract. So it has the abstract of the information, and what abstract is basically like a summary. So it gives you like a concise summary of the background, the methods, the results, and the conclusion. And this is only the abstract. This is not the full text. Now you will see from here that so it has the citation at the top. Here's the citation. This article happens to be on PubMed ahead of print, so it actually hasn't been printed in journals yet. So, but it's available through PubMed. And here on this on the right-hand side, it has a link to the journal where this article is published, and you can actually get it if you click on it through that journal. At the bottom of the page, you can see a PubMed ID. So here's the PubMed ID. So if you wanted to ask someone to take a look at this article and they were having a hard time finding it, you can actually share the PubMed ID with them and they can find it. Another thing so anything that's on PubMed has a PubMed ID. Another thing that you can share with them is a DOI, or Digital Object Identifier, and that's also an identification that works both on PubMed and outside of PubMed. So anything that's ever digitally published will have a DOI number. So if you actually give this DOI number to someone, they can actually get access to the article. So if I click this, it will actually take you to the journal where this article is published. And here it is. So this is the journal's web page, and this article is published in there. So, and you may have to pay a subscription to get it, and I'll talk about how to get those in a little bit. Now, one thing you will notice here is that this only gives you information about PubMed ID. This is not available on Pubmed Central, or it would have told you. Another thing to note is that this is a non-MEDLINE journal, because it didn't tell you this is part of MEDLINE, which means that this is a non-MEDLINE journal. Now let's go back. Now let's take a look at another one. So if we scroll down, let's go to next page. So let's click on this one, management of hypertriglyceridemia induced acute pancreatitis. So if you click on this one, you'll notice that again it has the citation and the title and the authors and the abstract. Uh, here's a PubMed ID number. It also has a PubMed Central ID. So this article happens to be available, the full text of it happens to be available through PubMed Central. So because it is available through PubMed Central, it gives you a PubMed Central ID. And you can actually see on this side, not only does it have a link to the journal where it's published, it also gives you a link to PubMed Central. So if you click the PubMed Central link, it will take you to PubMed Central, where you can actually read the full text. So this is now the full text. You can read the full text. If you were interested in this article, you can also get a PDF of it if you prefer to print it, or if you wanted a better layout of the article. So that's nice, and it's free. PubMed Central is always free. And of course, the DOI is available. So if you click on it, it will also take you to the journal's website. Now, this article happens to be free, so you have access to the full text. And if you want it, you can actually get the PDF of it too. Again, for this article, you don't see any information about MEDLINE. So this is a non-MEDLINE journal. Now down here it also gives you information about publication type. So if you expand this, it tells you that this is a review article. So that's useful information too. On the right hand side, it also shows you similar articles. So sometimes when you find an article that's interesting to you, if you look at the similar articles section, you can also find things that are similar to this article. So you might actually find things that are relevant to what you're looking for. Now let's go back to our search. You notice that also, we have our search results, but at the very top, it also tells you the best matches for pancreatitis. So, um, you know, PubMed is smart, so it also tries to figure out what you're looking for. So if you click on acute pancreatitis, the first article, it will take you to this page. You will notice that this is an article that's published in Lancet journal. It has the authors. It has, sometimes if there are errors in the article, they will publish corrections in another publication. So, and they will give you a link to it. So it's telling you here that there's actually um, a correction published in a different publication. So you can also go look for that. But of interest, also note that down here you see the PubMed ID and DOI, but also in this one it tells you that it's indexed for Medline. So that's how you know that an article is actually a Medline article. So this article happens to be a Medline in a Medline journal. So Lancet is a Medline journal. And what's significant about it is that if you go down here, other than publication types, it also gives you mesh terms. So this article has been tagged with mesh terms. So if you expand this, it shows you all the mesh terms here. So all these mesh terms have been tagged to this article. Now the one that has an asterisk, it actually means that that's a major mesh term. The ones that have a slash, that means this is a heading, and the slash is a subheading of so for example, pancreatitis slash therapy means pancreatitis is the major heading and therapy is the subheading. And I'll explain that more in a little bit. Now let's go back. Uh, this time, let's search, instead of PubMed, let's search PubMed Central. So if you go to PMC and again search for pancreatitis, so pancreatitis is already typed in the search box, and just click search. Now, instead of PubMed, you're in the PubMed Central page. So these results are different than what you were saying before. So it's only showing you the PubMed Central article. So anything that's listed here, you will have access to the full text. So for example, let's click on the pharmacologic therapy for acute pancreatitis. So you will see that it will, we're still not on PubMed, we're on the PubMed Central. So instead of those pages that you would see on PubMed, it's actually taking you to the full text. So this is the full text. It has, here's the title, here's the abstract, and then here's the rest of the article. So that's very nice. If you wanted a PDF of it, you can actually click on the PDF. Sometimes the PDF is not available, but most often the PDF is available. Let's go back. Now, if you wanted to actually see this on the PubMed, by the way, up here you have the PubMed Central ID. It also gives you the PubMed ID. So if you click on the PubMed ID, it will take you back to the PubMed page. So this is what the PubMed page would look like. So the PubMed page, only has the abstract. It doesn't have the full text. It has a PubMed ID, PubMed Central ID, and a DOI. It also tells you this is a free PubMed Central article that if you click here, it will take you back to the PubMed Central. Let's go back to the PubMed page. And it tells you that this article is also a Medline. So it means that it has mesh terms. So it has publication types. It also has all these mesh terms that are tagged with it. In this course, we're not going to worry about substances and grant support. We're only concerned about publication types and mesh terms because that's relevant to practice. Now let's go back to the PubMed Central page. So we just clicked on the PubMed ID, which took us to the PubMed page. Another way to go to the PubMed page is through the links. So if you click under links, there's a PubMed. So if you click it, it will take you to the PubMed page. So there are multiple ways of, finding this article. Now, if you happen to know the PubMed ID, I'm just going to copy this, and let's go to the PubMed homepage. So if you knew the PubMed ID, all you have to do is paste this here and search. It will take you directly to that page.